Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. He's a statistician to the stars. He's the man of 1,008 aliases. His name is Padawan J.
Let me talk to you.
And boy, we have a lot to talk about. This is a fusion edition of the ODPH, where we're going to be talking a little bit of sports. We're going to talk a little movies, TV, comics, and more. Because, why, Pad?
Mother Nature was a pain in our rears.
Yeah, it was a big problem for us yesterday. So, unfortunately, we could not record.
Yeah, no, a lot of lightning, a lot of rain. In fact, there's so much rain that there's a road near where you and I live that's slight hill, not huge. But there's a manhole towards the bottom half of that hill that when I was leaving this morning, water was pouring out from in that manhole that like they had the orange, hazard cones around it. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And then I was driving by that same manhole cover like 8-9 hours later. It was still coming out of there.
Yeah, it's been a little wild up here.
Yeah.
Luckily, though, we did have time to break away and give you a fusion edition of the ODPH. So that's where we're going to go here. And for anything that we're not talking on the show, definitely hit us up on the social media, or especially go to the home of the ODPH is where, Pad?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right there you can talk to us because we got all the social media links posted right there. The T Public Store link where you never know where there's going to be a sale going on. The Classifies, which has friends of the show such as 3FM Podcast, Dragon Master Games, Nerd Initiative, and many more. Also, a directory. Pat, how many providers are we on?
527,761.
And your source?
Trust me, bro.
So wherever you're listening to the ODPH on, first and foremost, thank you for checking us out. Leave us a review on your favorite podcatcher. It definitely helps the algorithm of the show. Last but certainly not least, we have a fantastic music section, which has friends of the show such as Brian Wolf and the Howlers, Second Suitor, Tom Jolu, Floodlands, and Shadow of the Robots. You hear their music on each and every 607 podcast episode. So if you want to go download it for your own leisure, boom, there it is. And go support the hell out of them because they're all amazing people. And if there's anything else I might have forgotten, because, hey, we cover a lot here at the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. And remember on social media to always use the hashtag ODPHpod. Well, there is one story that is dominating the ODPH society this week. Is one that we gave a little teaser about last week on the entertainment show, but now the movie has come out.
Yep.
There is a lot to discuss about it. Pad, what are we talking about?
We were talking about the latest entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, phase, what are we on, 5? I think.
I
4,
believe
5?
so.
Something like that. Thunderbolts, asterisk.
Yes, the long-awaited Marvel Studios project has finally graced movie theaters, and this is the one that had a lot of question marks behind it. Even though we are familiar with some of the cast, Florence Pugh is reprising her role as Yelena, Sebastian Stan is back as Bucky Barnes, Wyatt Russell is back as the U.S. agent, and we did have some new faces joining the crew, one being Louis Pullman, who plays the Sentry. So there was a lot of skepticism about this project. There was a lot of uncertainty because if you know the comic, which I can't stress enough, go read the Kurt Busiek and Mark Bagley run. It still holds up to this day. It's one of the best superhero comics Marvel has done, period. It's a late 90s piece, but still it connects with the readers, and I will still stand on this. It is the last great comic reveal not ruined by the internet. Issue number 1 will knock you away if you're really a true comic fan. So translating this to the big screen with a whole different cast that's not connected to the comic, we didn't know what to expect.
Well, especially, too, you think of just kind of the casual fan reception to things. Everybody knows who Sebastian Stan is, Bucky Barnes. The diehards know the rest of the cast, but I'm sure there's some folks that went into this film that had no idea who the rest of them were.
Well, that's the one thing that we've had teases of certain other members of the show on here. I mean, most notably, we have had David Harbour reprising his role as Alexi, a.k.a. Red Guardian.
Yep.
We have had Hannah John Kamen reprise her role as Ghost, where we last saw her in the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie.
Yep.
And we also had Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, played by the one and only Julie Louis-Dreyfus.
Say that name 5 times fast.
Yeah. We've seen her pop in and out of different Marvel movies,
right.
and they've been staging this for quite some time.
Right.
But to see how it's going to connect with the pop culture audience, that is always the big X factor, because comic fans will show up to watch movies.
Oh, yeah.
We read them. We go to the shops every week. This is our wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get a pop culture audience, which has a very short attention window, because there's so much variety out there, that to really build that fan base and make it a lock every time it comes out that it's going to shut down social media is tough these days.
Yeah.
And especially with Marvel Studios pivoting away from the Kang Dynasty, storyline for reasons.
Yeah.
To now going into Avengers Doomsday, where Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Victor Von Doom, a.k.a. Dr. Doom, and a whole new storyline. It's really tough to try seeing where the fan base is. Now, Captain America Brave New World came out in February. We both liked it.
Yeah.
I know it was not exactly a box office smash on par with Avengers and some of the other franchises, but we have to remember this too. Not everything is going to be Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, I'll say Avengers Endgame, let's not forget, had an opening weekend pull dollar-wise of over $357 million. Captain America Brave New World, just for comparison's sake, currently sitting at a worldwide gross of just over just short of $415 million.
Which is not too shabby at all.
No, for, a fourth Captain America film, the second, I guess you could say, fourth iteration of one of the mainline character movies, and a new person taking over the role from the one everyone has been used to seeing for like 10 years. It's not bad.
No, it's definitely not. But we know that obviously Marvel is lining up everything for Fantastic Four.
Oh, yeah.
That is the big Marvel movie of the year. It could be the biggest superhero movie at the box office. Debatable with Superman.
Sure.
It's a legit debate.
Yeah, no, it is.
But for where we're going with this movie, there's a lot of question marks that we're waiting to see. Trailers look good.
Yeah.
They kind of tip their hand about who is going to be the main bad guy. But once you get into the movie, there's a lot to break down. So that is what we're going to be doing this episode. So we are going to give you our spoiler-free statement about Thunderbolts. So if you're new to the show, this is what we do. We'd like to give you a little taste of what we're talking about. But if you haven't seen the movie yet for whatever reason, you have a choice. You stay or go when Pad gives you a countdown. After said countdown, we deep dive. Trust us, we're going to be talking theories. We're going to be talking a lot of spoilers. We're going to be talking honest opinions about this and where we think things are going. So if you don't want to be ruined for that, for whatever reason, you can download the episode, watch the movie, and then jump back in, or stay along for the ride because, trust us, we have a lot to discuss with this. So all that being said, Pat, the wait is finally over. May 2nd is come and gone. Thunderbolts hit the movie theaters. Give me your spoiler-free statement about the latest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Well, first, I got some numbers for you. Over on Rotten Tomatoes for the critics score, it is currently sitting at an 88%. That is with 284 reviews. The viewer score is 94% with 10,000 plus verified ratings. Over on IMDb, 7.7 out of 10 with 56,000 reviews. And then over on Letterboxd.com with 2.9 thousand people having watched the film. Film is currently sitting at a 3.8 stars out of 5. Box office-wise, it was obviously number one at the box office this weekend here domestically, bringing in $74,300,608, beating out the likes of Sinners, a Minecraft movie, The Accountant 2, and Until Dawn. And then for the film itself, currently it is sitting at $86.7 million domestically, $86.2 million internationally, for a worldwide total of just over $173 million. Now, as for my feelings on the film, if I want to split it up into, thirds, the first 2/3, good, dug it. The final third, it's like when Roadrunner was chasing Wile E. Coyote, Wile E. Coyote was chasing Roadrunner. I got to make sure I get that right. It's like when Wile E. Coyote was chasing Roadrunner, and you know how he's running along and he goes up to the tunnel going through the mountain and he just hits it because it's painted and it's not really there. Kind of how I felt with the third act of this movie, where I was on board. I was riding along on the train going, all right, I understand this. I get what's going on. And then it just hit a wall where it totally took me out of the film. And I'm like, wait, what? There were points that didn't make sense. It kind of fell apart a little bit. I still enjoyed it. but it certainly fell apart in the third act for me. And that third act really kind of hurt my overall feelings on the movie. I don't hate that I saw it, and I by no means am I putting it in the camp of I'll never watch this again. I'll watch it again, if and when I go to do, an MCU rewatch. But am I chomping at the bit right now, to go watch it as soon as it hits Disney Plus? Not really.
See, I'm split on a couple things.
Okay.
Now, one, as a longtime Thunderbolts reader, and as you've heard me talk a lot on this show, I hold that first run in very high regard.
Right.
So to see how they translate it to the big screen, I thought it was a weird interpretation.
Sure.
However, where they were going with this is a story about characters that were dealing with their own inner demons.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the driving point of this group, that it was not a Suicide Squad ripoff.
Right.
That a lot of times Thunderbolts can be misconstrued for, which I don't agree with the comparison. I've heard
right.
I've heard it a lot, but I don't agree with it.
Right.
But for this version, I thought we had a lot of great character building moments that we haven't had really in the MCU in quite some time. I really thought they spent a lot of time trying to sell you on why you should be rooting for the quote-unquote bad guys or the quote-unquote anti-heroes, depending on whatever you want to define them as. I thought they really nailed that. But there's one key element, and I like how you said you broke it into thirds. The key element that they did not spend enough time clarifying for the pop culture audience came back to haunt them in the worst possible moment. Where I feel is the movie had a great first and second act.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once you get to that third act, this is where I go, my second portion comes in thinking as a pop culture fan.
Mm-hmm.
There's one element that is very confusing because I don't think they spent enough time clarifying what that person can do and why it's such a big threat to this team. Plus, I also thought they really rushed the ending, and the bonus scene, I think, is a very big letdown because there is a lot of hype going around it, and you're hearing a lot of fans be excited for this film. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be.
Right.
I think there's some great performances in this, and that I think really sell it. But for the touting that this is the greatest Marvel movie of all time, the MCU is back.
No.
I say pump the brakes and go with caution.
It's optimistic.
Well, I think fans want to be optimistic that we're going to go back to the glory days of the MCU where everything just shuts down when a Marvel movie comes out. That's not the case anymore. This is a whole new phase. The franchise has been going on for how many years now?
We just reached the anniversary of the first Iron Man movie coming out. I'd have to do the math, but I forget how many years it is.
Right, but the point is, we've had how many films of the MCU? And how many times can you win over an evolving pop culture audience?
17 years.
Okay. So that all being said, I thought they did not do a service to the pop culture audience about their ending.
No, I'll agree with you there because I do know who these characters are. I do read some comics, but I obviously haven't read everything. There are gaps in my knowledge. And especially with some of these characters in this movie is one of those gaps. So I count myself as one of those folks who I know the names. I know the general gist of these characters. But do I know every nook, cranny, and finer detail about them? No. So when it came time for what you're talking about, I am one of those people that's where this fell apart for me, where I'm sitting there, and I'll talk about it when we get to the spoiler portion and we get to that part of the review, that I'm sitting there waiting for an explanation on something, and it never comes. And I had to ask you after the movie, what is the deal with this?
And you are not the only person, because over the course of the weekend, I had a flood of DMs asking, okay, I don't want to sound stupid, but what was up with that character? And listen, I fully get it, and I don't think you're stupid for asking, for those that did. I know there's some people that were very self-conscious about it. No, ask, because they did not explain it. So that said, I thought this movie is good, but I'm not putting it that high on a pedestal. I'll give you my grade rating in the spoiler section because there's a lot more to dissect, and once you get to that breakdown, I think things will come a lot more into focus. So that being said, Pad, in 3, 2, 1, let's really talk about Thunderbolts.
Like I said, the first 2/3 of the movie, great. The last third, when you finally, you're bringing it home and you're kind of tying everything up and you're getting to resolve the conflict or what have you, that's where it fell apart. That, I'm sitting there and I'm waiting on stuff to happen and I'm waiting on people to show up and I'm like, well, I know they're in the movie, they're in the trailer. They seem to be the focal point of the movie. Where the hell are they? And then they show up and I go, huh? And it made no sense, and they didn't explain it. That the entire, they didn't show up, and then they didn't explain it. And I'm sitting there going, you know what? I'm sure they'll give at least a sentence explanation for it. They don't got to get into the nitty gritty, the finer details of the atoms and the electrons and the whatever else. So I'm like, they don't got to get that deep with it. I'm sure they'll explain it. And then they didn't. And I got to the end, and I'm like, all right, I need you to explain something to me here because I don't get what happened. So it really, I was enjoying the hell out of it. For the first time since maybe Shang-Chi, that I was really digging a movie through most of it. Which, don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed all of the Marvel films to a certain extent. Have I gone back and rewatched any of them since they've released on Disney Plus? No. But Shang-Chi was the last one that I came out of it, and I'm pretty sure I even said on the show, I want to rewatch this movie when it comes out on Disney Plus. This was shaping up to be the first one in a few years. And I'm like, yeah, I want to rewatch this. This is a great movie. I really enjoyed this. And that last third just really, really hurt it for me.
To paraphrase what they say in pro wrestling, everybody remembers the finish of a match. They don't remember how great a match is before it. If it's a bad finish, everybody remembers that.
Yep.
That, unfortunately, is the takeaway from here. That we had great performances by Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan, and listen, Wyatt Russell is fantastic in this film.
Absolutely.
And you know me, if you're new to the show, I do not like the character of U.S. Agent. I think John Walker is a complete a-hole and is so flawed, it's not redeemable with him. And I could go on a whole different episode complaining about him.
We ain't got that much time.
Right. I thought Wyatt Russell is making the most chicken salad out of the chicken stuff of his character.
Sure.
And I thought he was great. So there are performances you can really get behind, and it makes you want to see these characters win. But the biggest X factor going into this, and I had a feeling it was going to be like this, is Louis Pullman's The Sentry. And it's nothing against him and how he was acting. He did great with what he was given.
He was tremendous.
But the problem you have with this character is there is so much complexity to him that trying to translate it to the pop culture audience, they failed at.
Well, and he's also, I feel, not the most household name in the Marvel lexicon. In terms of the casual fans.
Casual fans, no. Comic-wise, they really were pushing him for a good run.
Sure.
But unfortunately, at least in my opinion, it never caught on.
Right. I mean, for me, I know more through the cartoons and some of those movies and then the video games. Now, I will admit I haven't played every video game, but
sure.
I can remember most of the cartoons. I don't remember him being featured in any of the cartoons, even going back to the 90s.
Well, he wasn't around then.
Right. So then even with video games, the one I can think of that I know he's in was there was the Lego Marvel Superheroes video game. Came out for PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, where, hell, play that game and find me a Marvel hero or villain that isn't in that game.
Sure.
I dare you. So I knew him through that, so I knew kind of what his powers were there, but he wasn't featured in the story. So for pop culture folks, you really got to do a little bit of heavy lifting with him.
Oh, completely. And I think that really hurts this film.
Sure.
Unless you're just willing to forget about it and just go, okay, things are happening. I'm just going to turn my brain off.
Right.
Which you can. Listen, if that's how you do your movies, that's fine. I'm just saying for using some logic behind this, they did not explain key elements of that character.
He was a focal point for the plot from not necessarily the outset, but from, what would you say, probably 30 minutes in to the end of the movie, focal point of the plot. You know, he is, you know, the grease that gets the engine moving.
Yeah.
That without him, the plot kind of falls apart and you don't know where you're going. You know, so when somebody is a focal part of that story, you need to do the work to support him.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I think the writing here failed.
Right.
I really do. Because it starts off great. We start off with an opening scene with Yelena in Malaysia jumping off a building. Mm-hmm. She's on a mission to destroy a laboratory because we know at this point she's working for Valentina. Mm-hmm. So there's a great back and forth going on here, and you're really kind of seeing how Yelena has more or less shut herself off from the world.
She's kind of going through the motions, yeah.
Yeah, because this is just all she knows, obviously coming out of the aftermaths of the movies she has been in and shows. Like, she's just in a different place, and we understand it. And it's just she's really trying to find something to give her a spark because she doesn't have it. She lost her sister Natasha.
Yep.
She's still dealing with that. Obviously, where we've seen her pop up in the MCU otherwise, everything plays a factor.
Yeah.
You know, into where she is now. That she essentially wants to stop doing the covert work. She wants to try doing something else. She wants to be, in essence, she wants to be a superhero.
Yep.
Because she wants to be in front of the public. She doesn't want to work covert anymore. Mm-hmm. And Valentina is conning her into doing one more job and we'll get you out of here. One more job, you do this. Because Valentina is trying to cover her own tracks at the same time.
Yep.
Because obviously she does some dirty deeds and they're not done dirt cheap. Mm-hmm. And she is now facing a congressional hearing about her future as a CIA director.
Yeah, something happened from the time we last saw her to now. The government isn't thrilled about it, and they're hauling her in front of a hearing committee and asking for answers.
Mm-hmm. And one of those in attendance for this is one newly minted Congressman, Bucky Barnes.
Like 6 months into his tenure, Bucky Barnes.
So Bucky is doing this really on the fly because we saw him, he was running for Congress.
Right.
Now he's elected. So they did a time jump they did not explain, but it is what it is.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, and plus it's a new element to see Bucky because man can fight the forces of Thanos and save the world however many times. Getting in front of a camera and answering reporters' questions, he's out of his element.
Right. I mean, that's the one thing that he's always done. He just knows how to fight. He just knows how to really follow the orders, and he is not comfortable being the public persona. He's not Steve Rogers, which, listen, that's fine. That's his character. I mean, Bucky is definitely not Steve Rogers. No. So him now in this new phase is really challenging him, but he knows that there's something wrong with Valentina. Can't put his finger on exactly, but he knows that it's something with her and the Ox group that is not doing some nice things. So in the meantime, while this is going on, Valentina is dispensing her agents to cover her tracks for her unknowingly. So it all leads to this unknown base.
It's in the southwest of the U.S. someplace.
So Yelena goes in, and she has a mission to take out somebody.
Yep.
We don't know who, but as she goes down there, she runs into one John Walker, a.k.a. the U.S. agent, who Wyatt Russell plays phenomenally and was the complete, pompous ass that he always is. Thinking that he is the rightful Captain America and he knows everything, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
They're also run into Ava, Ghost. And they also run into an old friend, Taskmaster, who's played by Olga Kurylenko. So last time we saw her, Black Widow.
Yep.
So the four of them have their mission, and ironically, it's to take each other out inadvertently. So while they're shooting at each other, and there's great action going on here too, they wind up knocking over a
container.
I was going to say baggage container.
Something like that, yeah.
In the mix, though, Ava shoots Taskmaster right in the face.
Yep.
So that was a shocking death, but not one that we weren't expecting.
Right. I mean, she was kind of absent from a lot of the footage we had seen after, I think, like the first trailer. Like, she was in the first trailer pretty extensively. And then from that point on was not in the footage. So I think everyone kind of figured she wouldn't be making it through this film.
Right. So
Which I'm not even mad about.
No, I'm not mad about it. I just thought it was kind of weird how they just one and done her.
Yeah.
And there's no remorse about it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like, I understand it's the world they live in, working in a CIA covert. So obviously you have to kind of turn down your emotions. But I just thought it was very, very quick of how they dealt with it. But then again, we had the appearance of one Bob, played by Lewis Pullman.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it comes into connection that, well, everybody had their assignment to take each other out, Bob is an unknown factor.
Yep.
They realize that they have been set up to be killed.
Mm-hmm.
And there is now, the room is turning into an incinerator.
Yep.
They have to do a dramatic escape from this.
Looking like Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah. So they wind up pulling it out, even though there was a little dissent about who was going to help who.
Yep.
So there is a little honor amongst thieves here, which I don't mind.
Yeah.
I like how it's set up because really, what's the incentive on them working together?
Well, it's work together or we die.
Yeah. So then they have to wind up making this escape with going up a tunnel shaft.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, I for being a comedic moment,
A little bit of team building.
I did not mind it because they have to arm lock each other and walk up the silo that
You've
it looks
seen
like.
Emperor's New Groove. You've seen how it works.
Yep. So all the while, Valentina hears from her assistant Mel
Yep.
that they have survived. Now, Mel is somebody of interest to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now that she is played by Geraldine Viswanathan.
Mm-hmm.
So in this moment, Mel has a certain necklace on.
Right.
Pat, do you know what that necklace looks like?
No.
It looks like a bird. So Viswanathan, which I apologize, messed up the name earlier, symbolizing that and knowing Thunderbolts, I am banking dollars to donuts. She is Songbird.
It could be. I mean, they never dwelled on the necklace at any point during the 126 minutes of this film.
No, but knowing Thunderbolts and knowing who the character of Songbird is, which I will say this, you're going to hear me reference a lot of that Busick and Bagley run. Songbird is the greatest Thunderbolt to come out of that era.
Mm-hmm.
And to see her redemption story and how it plays out, why she never got a higher profile moment on the Avengers is beyond me. But what she did in that persona, outstanding stuff. Like how Busick wrote her and Bagley drew that whole arc. Amazing, amazing stuff. So I like the fact there was a little bit of an Easter egg here because that's what I'm going with it on. But this is where Val sends her troops to go find out, okay, what happened, and basically, yeah, you're going to have to kill everybody there.
Right. Well, that's the first order is shoot to kill.
Mm-hmm. So they show up and more or less rush into the base to go kill everybody.
Well, and then at some point after Valentina and Mel show up, they realize what's going on. They see the footage from inside of the vault. Mm-hmm. They realize Bob is out, and they start learning about his backstory, and because they thought nobody had survived the program he went through, and oh my God, we gotta save him. We gotta do this. She then changes the order to the soldiers, like, hey, don't shoot to kill, shoot to incapacitate.
Mm-hmm. Because they know that he is a survivor of Project Century.
Mm-hmm.
So all the while, you see this really cool action moments going on with Yelena talking Bob through going in,
right,
to take out the soldiers. Which, I mean, it's a fun moment per se between all the action. U.S. Agent has some great moments, like as he's fighting the troops there.
Very reminiscent of some of the early stuff in the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Where clearly they're trying to work together, but it's not working.
Mm-hmm. Even to the point where you see Yelena start shooting at a soldier, and then all of a sudden you hear him scream like, stop, it's me, it's John.
Yeah.
So there is that kind of, an awkwardness that's going on, but it still plays out because they're trying to escape. So as they're trying to leave, they notice that Bob breaks away because Ava has also snuck out at this point. She doesn't really have a moment here, but she steals a convoy van to steal. So as they're going, they're looking for Bob, who's supposed to be in the back, but he escapes, and he basically tries sacrificing himself for the group.
Yeah, because they've stolen some soldier uniforms. They're trying to go out the front gate, and they're trying like, oh, we need to take somebody in the back to the hospital for injuries, and the guy running the gate's not buying it. So that's when Bob goes on his own, decides to run out and cause a distraction.
Mm-hmm. But the general in charge there is not hearing Valentina's order.
Right.
He tells everybody open fire.
Yep.
They do.
Oh yeah.
And Bob winds up getting shot up.
Yep.
However, he gets up.
He has to say he initially drops, but then he stands up.
Mm-hmm. And then he flies away.
Well, air quote flies.
Yeah.
It's not. He takes off and he technically flies, but it's not exactly controlled.
No, he's definitely not in his full capacities and winds up coming crashing back down.
Mm-hmm.
The group still has to take off, even though they wind up crashing their vehicle in the process because it makes a big impact.
Yeah.
And knocks everything over.
Yeah.
So the three are now traveling back somewhere, knowing that Bob is in trouble. And they have to kind of sort out what just happened here because now they're all marked that they're on a burn notice, so to speak.
Right. And at this point, they just want to go into hiding and kind of lay low.
Yeah. But they don't get that chance because Alexei, played by the one and only David Harbour, tracks them down in his limo service, which was a little fun start because there is this heartfelt back and forth between Yelena and Alexei right after the mission in Malaysia. And it's really seeing how much Alexei misses being a hero.
Right. Well, and you see this because earlier in the film when we first see him, he's in his house in, I presume, Maryland someplace. And he's sitting there waiting on a DoorDash delivery. And what is he watching? He's not watching, the Washington Nationals or the Baltimore Orioles play. He's not watching, the Capitals play or something like that. He's not watching some sitcom. He's watching old news footage from when he was the Red Guardian, the face of heroism over in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, so he's definitely missing his time and wants to get it back. And he had actually driven for Valentina.
He said how long and how many hours it was. I forget what it was. It was something crazy, though.
Right, but he picked up about where she was at a gala trying to sway political vote.
He wanted to get in and work with Valentina, and he tried to get Yelena to put in a good word for him, but she's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
He weaseled his way in and then heard the phone call between Mel and the general of what was going on, and he put two and two together because Alexei knows Yelena works for Valentina.
But like I say, he was driving forward to from the gala that she was trying to spin because she had the artifacts from the incident. Because we can't let that go. We cannot let that go at this stage.
I'll be honest, I missed them saying that.
Oh yeah, that was the whole thing. That was why they had Loki's handcuffs from.
Yeah,
from
no,
there.
I get the whole thing, calling it the incident.
I mean, that's where I took it.
There's better names.
Oh, there's a lot better, but the fact that we're still tying it back to that moment, literally, that is the greatest moment in MCU history.
Yeah.
Allegedly. I mean, I don't think
supposedly.
It is. I mean, I think Thanos was right. Anyway, kidding about that. But we do see that that's where Bucky is also trying to get information out of Mel, so they're kind of planting some seeds that they're going to be working together as well. But it all leads back to Alexei tracking everybody down. And then
he's not subtle about finding them.
No, he's definitely not.
Blaring the horn, driving through the desert while there's helicopters flying overhead and they're trying to lay low.
Well, he thinks he's doing something right.
Yeah.
Which, I mean...
on paper, sure.
Well, his heart's in the right place. That's the one thing with him.
Yeah.
That he's trying to, one, be a father to Yelena, but two, also be a superhero. Because he knows that they're in trouble, and then he knows that Valentina's trying to kill him. So he's trying to do his best. And he does pick him up, and there's also that weird interaction between all parties again. But it leads to Valentina's forces tracking them down because, well, let's face it, you have a red limo driving out in the middle of nowhere. It's going to draw some attention.
Sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. But this also goes into where they have a great fight sequence going on, and then all of a sudden coming on his motorcycle is probably arguably the best Bucky Barnes moment we have seen.
The entire sequence is great because, like you said, they get into the fight, they're fighting back and forth. Walker's using his shield to protect them because Alexei tells the group, "Oh, don't worry, the vehicle's bulletproof." And then the rear window gets blown out, and somebody goes, "I thought you said this vehicle was bulletproof." Bulletproof-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So then Yelena decides to take matters into her own hands, leans out the car, starts shooting her pistol, mind you, at the armored vehicles. One of them, swerves sideways, explodes, and she kind of looks at it and goes, "Huh?" And that's when you see Bucky come through, riding on his motorcycle with I don't know what that thing was, a grenade launcher or mine launcher of some design, destroying the other convoys.
Yeah. So Bucky winds up taking everybody out, which was an awesome moment. This is Winter Soldier 101.
Yeah.
So they wind up taking him out. He captures everybody, starts interrogating, and really just drawing up about, okay, what is the plan here? What is Valentina doing?
Because in the background, he's working with the character Wendell Pierce. Phenomenal to see him in this movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He's working with the character Wendell Pierce plays. Wendell Pierce is the head of this congressional committee, and he's working with Bucky to basically get all the information they can on Valentina.
Mm-hmm. So during this, though, he does catch wind about Project Sentry.
Yep.
And knows that Bob was something about that.
Yep.
And they are basically saying, listen, we're going to try stopping Valentina. Do you want help? To boil it down.
Yeah.
And Bucky realizes he can't do this by himself.
Right.
Because after all the information, even working with Mel, he's not getting enough. He knows this is going to take a team to take down. So all the while, as they are forming the Thunderbolts, which we finally get the explanation, which I did not mind.
Yeah, I understood it.
It's based on the high school or the childhood soccer team that Alexei coached and Yelena played on.
One of those youth soccer programs where the jerseys are sponsored by a local business.
Yeah, so it's a little fun back and
forth.
Yeah. I did not mind it. But we do see where Valentina is now picked up, where she is more or less manipulating Bob in his fragile mind state, because you can obviously tell from his past he has had a very rough upbringing.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Oof.
So she is now saying basically, well, you have these powers. You could be good. You can be a hero. And really tries manipulating him. It's a lot. Her character at this stage really switches into the Norman Osborn-esque
kind of
Sentry relationship that they featured in Dark Avengers. So she is kind of teetering around this a little bit. But it ultimately leads into a confrontation that the Thunderbolts go to, because they crash where they know she is. And where is she now residing, Pat?
The Watchtower.
Yes.
Formerly known as Avengers Tower.
Right.
That they bought. We're in the middle of renovating, and then things fell out with the rest of the government, so they kind of put a kibosh on that. And then they're like, hey, start it back up.
Yeah. So they wind up crashing through the front door, another action sequence, but then she's like, why are you even wasting your time?
I had you guys ready to come up from the moment you showed up.
Yeah. So they wind up going up, and there's a meeting between the new Sentry, which is the one you see in the comics, the long blonde hair, and is basically saying he doesn't want to hurt them, but he's got his orders because of Valentina, and really winds up thrashing them.
Yeah,
to put it mildly, rips off Bucky's arm. The scene where he throws Red Guardian out the window,
bent John Walker's shield into a taco.
Yeah,
I saw somebody call it that over the weekend, and I can't see it as anything else now. It's a taco.
Oh yeah, no, completely. It looked like a taco shell. And just is laying waste to everybody.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I had no problem with this.
No, it makes sense. It's establishing the character. As you told me after the movie was over, he's one of, if not the strongest character in the Marvel Comics universe. So to kind of illustrate to the casuals, and I myself, just how powerful he is, he's got to kick ass and take names.
Yeah, he's on a Superman-esque level.
Yeah.
To put it mildly. Power of 1,000 suns, I think, is the tagline. But either way, he is dropping everybody left and right. So they have to wind up retreating. And during this, Valentina is still like saying, well, you got to go kill him. You got to do this. Like, she's barking orders at him. And he instantly is like, why do I have to listen to a human when I'm a god?
He's like, she's like, huh? And he's like, you called me a god.
Yeah.
Like, when has a god ever listened to a human being?
Yeah.
Why? I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to do whatever I want.
Yeah. So It now turns into a very risky situation because as he's been working on controlling his powers with Valentina, he has now gone rogue.
Mm-hmm.
And Valentina, though, is smart enough. She has a kill switch put in him.
Well, she had the kill switch rebuilt.
Yeah.
They had one, and then it got tossed out with everything else. So in the meantime, in between time, since they left the facility in the Southwest, she had Mel ask someone to rebuild it, which they did.
Mm-hmm. So Mel winds up taking him out with this. They wind up escaping because they think they've killed him.
Well, yeah, because Mel shows up. Mel's been sent off by this point because she's kind of wavering in her loyalty to Valentina. Valentina is trying to take on Sentry on her own, which, yeah, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Knife to a gunfight and all that. She almost gets killed, but that's when we see Mel show where her true loyalty lies, at least at this point, and hits the kill switch.
Yeah. So they wind up escaping, leaving him for dead. Valentina's just like, get a crew up there, clean up, and we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when they go up there, they realize the Sentry is not there. There is a man fully engulfed in darkness.
Well, and we don't see him flip when they leave the room. Valentina and Mel leave the room. The camera pans back down to Sentry, who's lying on the ground, and all you see are the eyes, and the eyes open and they're glowing. And then it's on the ground, and it's the team. The Thunderbolts are splitting up. Let's go our separate ways. We're clearly outmatched. There's no way we can do this. Blah 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 blah. Alexi's trying to talk him in, like, no, we got to come up with it. We got to do this, and that's when we see this figure in the sky, and this is where it lost me.
Yeah,
because the entire time I knew the Void was going to be the villain in this movie, and I'm sitting there going, where is this guy? We're like over an hour into this movie, maybe an hour and 15, hour and 20, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. We're a decent length into this movie, and I'm like, where the hell is this guy? Like, there hasn't been mention of him. There hasn't been word of him. There hasn't been like a news report of, unexplained instances in, the Southeast or something like that. Like, there's been no mention. And I'm sitting there going, what the hell is this guy?
Yeah. That's the one fault that they really start. And this is where the third act kicks in. They don't explain to the pop culture audience what the Void is.
Mm-hmm.
You just know the Sentry has gone bad.
Yeah.
And you still are trying to figure out his powers.
And the other thing, too, we haven't mentioned is throughout the movie, there have been these instances where Sentry has come into contact with the other members of the Thunderbolts.
Mm-hmm.
Yelena, he did it. Wyatt Russell, he did it with that. Ghost had one as well, if I'm not mistaken. But they're experiencing like the worst memory of their life. And I'm sitting there going, the hell is this?
Yeah.
Like what are we doing? Like, why is this happening? They never explain it. They kind of allude to it by the time you get to the end of it, but in the moment I'm like, what is happening?
Well, that's the problem. And it throws you off because, like I say, they tease enough with it, but this is where he loses his split personality.
Right.
Because this is what the Void is. So it is really not explained well to the audience.
Nope.
Like, you just know something's happened and this is where we're going. And to go through about what he's doing is he's just wrecking shop in New York now.
Yeah.
He's now casting it in eternal darkness.
Yep.
And when this is going on, you're seeing the Thunderbolts are trying to decipher what to do next.
Well, and they're trying to just save people because, hey, as was said in the hearing at the beginning of the movie, the Avengers aren't coming anytime soon.
Right. They keep driving that point home. They've said this now for how many movies? This is now the incident in New York.
Yeah,
like, literally,
the
Avengers are not coming. So as we're dealing with this, you're now seeing the team start coming together a little bit because obviously they get outside the building.
Yep.
They have a, understanding, I guess, that they are completely outmatched, completely outclassed to deal with this.
Yeah.
And they're exactly right. There's no chance this team has any shot of winning.
Nope.
And you see Elena walk off. You see everybody else is coming to terms because, like, this is the one thing that they try grasping at. This is one thing I will say they got right with the story.
Sure.
You have a bunch of people that are struggling to find their own identities after their biggest failures.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do now? this is where it drives home, and you really see the character moments build in. And this is where you have Yelena and Alexei building off. And they know they have no shot to win, but they really shift the gears when they start seeing tragedies happen and the Void starts taking people out. Mm-hmm. When this is where you see everybody start disappearing.
Yeah, like there was one point when a bunch of the buildings were falling around, and it almost fell on top of a woman, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if it was a kid or a woman. It was a New Yorker. And Yelena went in there to save the day. And then Alexa came in to save the day. And then Ghost came in to save the day. And then Bucky came in to save the day. Like, they're all one by one coming in. And this is giant slab of building that's going to crush the person. And they're all just standing there holding it, finally working together. It's the moment, again, Avengers 1. They couldn't work together for the entire film, but by the time you get to that cinematic seminal shot of them standing together, finally working together, that's this moment for them.
Yeah. So it is the team building moment that we're looking at, and then they have to kind of come to a realization. But at the same point, Yelena starts seeing this darkness form, and it's coming closer.
Yeah.
And instead of running away from it,
walks towards it.
She embraces it because she feels she has nothing inside.
Mm-hmm.
So as she comes in, they flash back to a sequence that has been unfolding where she has a vision of her early days in the Red Room.
I believe she said it was her first kill.
Yeah. So she starts reliving that.
Repeatedly.
Mm-hmm. It becomes Groundhog Day.
Yeah, until she figures out a way to break through the fourth wall, for lack of a better term, and move on to the next one.
Yeah, so she's now entered Bob's mind.
Yep.
Or
at least some pocket dimension controlled by his mind.
Well, that's the whole point.
It's never explained.
Yeah, it's never really explained. But for me, that's where he went. That's where she went.
Right.
And then subsequently, as we start going on, more people are now involved.
Right.
But you start seeing her have this moment where she finds Bob hidden in an upstairs bedroom of his childhood.
Yeah.
And you see that his father is abusing his mother.
And abusive towards him.
Abusive towards him. And, he's struggling to deal with the memories that he's had there.
Yeah.
So this now goes into like Stranger Things territory.
Yep.
Because you start seeing just how the rooms are shifting. It's like, the upside down there a little bit. Maybe without the monsters per se, but the monsters are very real about what's in the memories.
Right.
So then as they escape that, when the other Thunderbolts are coming in, they now go back to Bob's initial days in Malaysia, where he was in that laboratory that Yelena blew up at the beginning of the film.
He brought it up a couple times to this point, but this is the first time we actually see it.
Yeah. So this is where you start going when Bob is now, a drug addict. And
what was it, a methed out raccoon?
Yeah.
Something?
Yeah, or chicken.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, the methed out chicken.
Yeah, which you see. And you start getting the background that he volunteered for this procedure, that he was trying to make himself into something he wasn't.
Yep.
And like, this is where they lightly touch upon the Void.
Yep.
Lightly.
Yep.
There isn't a full explanation. There isn't anything about this.
And this is the entire time I'm waiting for, like you said, an explanation of what the hell is going on and what the powers are and just why he has flipped this switch. And I'm sitting there going, and I almost wanted to lean over to you and go, what is happening?
Yeah.
But I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt and go, you know what? I'll wait. I'm sure they'll give an explanation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And that was the one thing I was waiting for the audience, because you weren't the only one in the theater who was saying the same thing.
Right.
Everybody was like, what is going on? And that's one thing that they were not clear about. Like, you can dumb it down a little bit.
Sure.
And just go, okay, it's bad guy reasons.
Sure.
Okay, cool. But for how we get here, it's a little confusing that just everybody joins in the mind. And then you have to see how Bob confronts the Void and has to have that confrontation with him. The Void is basically saying, like, you got to kill me. You got to do this. You have to take me out. And this is where the Void is slowly tricking Bob into doing this, because he knows if he goes, he now absorbs Bob. Like, it's a weird play that they do, but this makes sense when you're dealing with the split personalities inside a mind.
Right.
So Yelena picks up on this, because as they're imprisoned, she is trying to desperately get free, because the Void now has them pinned against the walls. She has to kind of separate and then stop Bob from killing this, because she basically has to hug him and say, like, I believe in you.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
Power of friendship.
Yeah, it's literally the power of friendship is what saves the day, because everybody else gets there and they have like the group hug to get Bob and tell him he's okay. There's more to him than being a loser and being, whatever he envisions himself, because he does feel personally that he is one.
Right.
But once they start doing this, they start giving him that confidence, everything just all of a sudden snaps back. Everything comes to full circle. The darkness fades away. They're back in New York City.
He forgets everything that happened.
He forgets everything.
Yep. He gets told later in between this point and the second bonus scene,
right,
what happened. But for this point, he forgets everything.
Yeah, everything's gone out the window. So he comes back, has no idea what's going on. And when they come to, they see Valentina is right in front of them.
And they're like, all right, time to pay up.
Yep. Because prior to the Void coming out, there was supposed to be a press conference.
Yep.
This was establishing that she now had the new super soldier for the United States. The Sentry would be the hero we need and deserve because we don't have the Avengers, we have him. So as they come in to get Valentina, they wind up coming right in front of this press conference.
Yep.
In the completely ravaged city of New York, which
again,
reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, like say they establish it. They're still running the press conference.
Yeah.
And in this, Valentina figures out that she can save herself because she says, we need heroes. We don't have the Avengers. We have the new Avengers. Bum, bum, bum. But this is where Yelena and company have to accept these roles. But Elena does say something in Valentina's ear that she says, now we own you. And that's how it literally ends.
Yep.
So you see now the formation of the quote-unquote new Avengers, which is a very different lineup than the one in the comics during that run.
Sure.
So you have the U.S. Agent, you have the Winter Soldier, you have Ghost, you have Red Guardian, you have White Widow, and you have the Sentry. So, and it's all done very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So all the emotional attachment you had with these characters as they get to this point is gone because now everything's wiped away. The backing you had is gone, and they're now in this new phase where the public is not convinced that they are the Avengers.
Yeah, and you see this during the opening credit, not opening credits, the first part of the credits scene where like it's all of these articles and magazines about like, not our Avengers.
No, definitely not. So you start seeing that everybody is trying to be sold on this dream that these are your replacement heroes. These are the ones that are going to handle all the big time threats.
Right.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense. So we jump to the first bonus scene is nothing really go over. It's just
the shawarma scene from Avengers 1.
Yeah, more or less. It's Alexei in a grocery store as he was making a point earlier about saying we could be heroes on a box of Wheaties.
He got his wish. They're on a box of Wheaties.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity for Wheaties to not actually do that, by the way.
Yeah.
I was kind of fully expecting that, but it never happened.
No, it didn't. But then we go to the other bonus scene, which I am going to very much put a disclaimer on.
Okay.
There is a lot of people that said this is the greatest bonus scene in MCU history. It is 3 minutes.
It's certainly the longest one.
It is far from that. Because where we jump in, 14 months later, the new Avengers are in their base of operations. I assume this is Avengers Tower.
Fully renovated now.
You see Alexei is coming in wearing a NASCAR-esque tracksuit.
Complete with sponsors.
And new Avengers spelled with a Z.
Because they're in the midst of a legal battle with them and
Sam Wilson
over the copyright of the name. And this is to the point where I'm showing Ken this. You go to the Avengers Twitter account, the official one, they've decided to throw the copyright symbol in front of that name.
See, this is kind of a puzzling point because they don't explain really why.
Yeah.
We knew at the end of Brave New World, Sam was forming his own Avengers team, which President Ross at the time was trying to get him to do.
And she was reluctant, going, no.
Yeah, but then at the end of the film, he said, Falcon, okay, you're going to be part of the Avenger team. So there's a couple different ways I was going with this. One, were we going West Coast Avengers and then regular Avengers? Were we going to do Mighty Avengers and Avengers? I mean, what was the end game for this? Because now you technically have one team that's been the quote-unquote Avengers, and what threats have they faced in said time? Because even as all those news clippings, the only thing we know that's different is Bucky Barnes has a costume very similar to his current one in Marvel right now.
Makes sense.
Very similar.
Makes sense.
You know that the Sentry has not been the Sentry in 14 months.
He knows what happened because they told him what happened, but in terms of powering up, for lack of a better term, not so much.
No, so he's a normal civilian on the team.
He's just doing housekeeping duties.
Mm-hmm.
Reasons.
Yeah, and you see the rest of the team is doing a celebrity-esque style Avengers, where John Walker's costume is now changed. He's wearing a beret like Flint from G.I. Joe. And everybody else seems stat quo.
Yeah.
But they are still sitting there monitoring threats. And my only question at this stage is, like, what threats have you done if it's been 14 months and it's just been bad press?
Yeah.
I mean, what I thought they should have done better is put in maybe a scene where they're fighting some C-level hero or villains and do something like that.
Sure.
Or there's a better way I thought they could have ended the film if they really wanted to go this route, which I think would have made more sense. And that is, you tie this back to Baron Zemo. See, the fact that they did not do that, I thought they missed an opportunity of a lifetime.
Sure.
Because what they could have done in this moment is they could have had the beginning of the Thunderbolts, like in the comics. And you could have had Valentina behind them, and you could have had them really establish that. Like, they come walking in that room, and all of a sudden it's gone. Like, you could have, I mean, Daniel Bruhl has been there and could come back in, and he could have been Citizen V.
Right. I mean, at the last we saw, he's imprisoned on the raft. So, but you could have worked it out. He's out of there.
Oh, you could have definitely worked a lot of things
That's
out.
an easy way. That's an easy fix.
Right.
It's not like he's dead.
No. But you could have definitely done something here.
Sure.
But instead, you have them just sitting around complaining about life and how they're not accepted as the Avengers.
Yeah.
Which, newsflash, why would we?
Yeah. No kidding.
I mean, what did you save? You had the power of friendship that stopped the Sentry. Literally, that's how you stopped them.
Yeah.
So what were you going to be doing against the other threats? Like, are you literally trying to tell me that there has been no other major threats coming into the MCU since this point? And I call that so foolish to do that to the audience. So then, after 2.5 minutes of this, mind you, we finally get to, there's a blip, then something has came through the atmosphere.
The alarm is going off in the tower.
Yeah. And then we see a ship fly in. Pad, what is on that ship?
The number 4.
So we are under the assumption
Yep.
it is the first family of Marvel, the Fantastic Four, who has a movie coming out in July.
This is true.
That you've more or less tipped the ending
Yep.
of how that film is going to go.
Yep.
Am I the only one that sees a problem here?
No, not really.
I mean, the fact that you tip off how Fantastic Four is going to end, unless, of course, they pull a swerve and it's Doom flying it.
That could be. I mean, to be fair, though, they tipped the ending of this movie when they decided to reveal the cast of Avengers Doomsday for 9 hours.
Oh, of course.
Like, we saw the cast members' names from this movie on that show. We're like, well, we know they're living.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they have done a very bad job, in my opinion, of telegraphing a lot of moves.
Yeah.
And you can't say otherwise. As much as we all want to be fans of the MCU, they've really screwed up here. And I think that they have just tipped so much that you can understand why the audience, for lack of a better term, is tuned out until Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah.
Because what's the incentive? Why do you want to get emotionally caring about a character
Right.
if you know that whatever happens to them, they're going to be safe? Like, that defeats the whole purpose.
Pretty much.
Because you have great performances here throughout this movie.
I mean, the emotional stuff especially, too, because I can't take credit for this. I saw this online, but go back and watch the movie, or maybe if you go through and watch the first time, listen to what Sentry's reaction is every time he's called Bobby and not Bob. It's not a visceral reaction. It's not he starts screaming, but he doesn't like it, and he has a very negative reaction every time he's called Bobby. because of what happened in his past. And
Yeah, it's because of his dad.
So there's moments in here where like, oh wow, like you're making emotional connections, you're making emotional, attachments. But then you get to the end third of this movie, and it's just like, what the fuck happened?
Well, they wipe it all away. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like I say, I don't have a problem with the acting in this film. I think Florence Pugh is amazing in this.
Florence Pugh is probably the best part of this movie.
Oh, easily. Hands down. Hands down. I think that she is great because she really embodies what the Thunderbolts are supposed to be.
Yeah.
She really gets it. David Harbour is on point for what he needs to be. He's the comic relief, but with the heart.
Yep.
Does this better than anybody. Hannah John came in, is fine as Ghost. I would have thought they did not do a lot about her backstory per se,
right?
In comparison to like John Walker's,
sure.
Which once again, Wyatt Russell, I've said it once, I'll say it again. He does great about capturing how much of a pompous ass John Walker is, and you see it here too because they do a little flashback that his wife and kid leave him.
Yeah, well, and he's going off of the public perception that everything's all hunky dory.
Yeah,
and then we find out that's not the case.
Oh, he tries selling it as much as he can because he can't handle in his mind he failed as Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
That he is literally not taken seriously by any stretch of the means.
Yeah,
which is perfectly fine. That's how he should be because, granted, some other things happen in the comics that turn his pompousness up to 20.
Right.
But still, that plays perfectly into the story because you go around thinking that you are literally the face of America and you wind up screwing up so badly, you're publicly fired.
Yeah.
And, what are you left with? And he can't handle it. That's what I say. Even in the comics, John Walker has never been mentally able to handle the mantle of Captain America. That's why he fails at it every time.
Nope.
Saving that rant for another time. But, like I say, you have these great performances by Pugh, Russell, even Pullman. Pullman does the best with the work that he has.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fault him on that. I do fault the writing, though.
100%.
Because the writing in that third act wipes everything away. All that good building up that you did we go, why should I care about these losers?
Yeah.
You find yourself rooting for them.
Like, why should I care about a guy like you alluded to, killed a man in the middle of the street on the internet?
Yeah.
While it was live streamed.
Yeah. Like you find yourself like wanting them to win.
Yeah.
And to pull a way out. Like you get really invested and then they just wipe it away because, well, that whole like loser mentality that they should have, that they want to be better. Well, they're finally, fake A-listers.
Yeah.
And how they get there, they literally win with the power of friendship.
Yeah.
You can't say otherwise.
No, you really can't. It's like an 80s cartoon.
Yeah. And it's like, so we just completely burnt away what we're going to do here. But then again, that's the problem with dealing with Sentry.
Yeah.
And the fact they made him the villain of this, or the Void, I mean, still, it's a messy thing because there's so many moving parts involving that character.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't like the character, because there's a lot of pivoting and not necessarily in the greatest manner. I will say this, if you want a great Sentry comic to read, the Jason Lowe run. 4 issues.
Sure.
Very, very good. But everything else, they really try forcing him as the face of the franchise of Marvel, and just it doesn't work. And in this situation, I really think it did a disservice to the audience. Because unless you're a diehard comic fan like me, you're not going to know who the hell the Void is.
Right. No, I sure as hell didn't. I thought it was somebody else entirely different, that wasn't tied in any way, shape, or form to Sentry. So I'm literally sitting there. They're in New York. They're at the Avengers Tower, Watchtower, whatever you want to call it. And I'm sitting there physically thinking, because, I'm not an asshole that talks out in the middle of a movie. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting there thinking, where the hell is this Void, villain? I didn't know it was called the Void. I'm like, where the heck is the villain? Like, I've seen him in the trailers. We've seen his powers in the trailers. Like, where the hell is this guy? When is he showing up? Like, we're getting kind of deep into the film here. It's getting kind of late to introduce a villain. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, that's the problem. And like I say, I think it had a lot to do with that third act. That wipes away all the good.
Third act physically pulled me out of the movie.
Yeah, that's the one problem with it. Literally, if you can get past that, this is a great film. Am I going to say top 5 MCU of all time? No, by no means.
No,
but it's good.
It's enjoyable.
It's enjoyable. It's a good film. But that third act is going to throw you off unless you do your homework.
The third act's shoes came untied and it tripped on its own shoelaces.
Mm-hmm. So I guess, Pat, we'll just kind of wrap it up with this. I mean, we talked about the good is the acting.
Yeah.
The bad is the third act.
Yeah.
The Easter eggs they put in here to get us to Doomsday, I don't think necessarily were home runs.
No, I mean, I remember when we were talking about this last week saying, we really got to get things going because we're getting close to the next Avengers movie, that when we were doing the recording, it was literally like a year away from the release date of the next Avengers movie. This movie did absolutely nothing for the next Avengers movie. Then, hey, there's another team.
Yeah.
So, which granted, I get Doom coming in Fantastic Four, but in terms of the, hey, things on this earth are stacked. Whoa, we're just trying to survive and get ready for the next inevitable event. Okay. Like, this movie's not necessary for Doomsday, in all honesty.
Yeah, no, it definitely isn't. Other than just establishing that we have a new Avengers team.
Yeah.
So let's put a grade on this and take it home, Pat. Final thoughts on Thunderbolts.
Good movie. I enjoyed it, but certainly I'm not chomping at the bit to rewatch it anytime soon, nor am I going out of my way to tell people, oh, you really got to go see this movie. You're going to love this movie. I've had some people ask me if they should go see it. I'm like, yeah, you can wait. It's not necessarily required viewing for Doomsday. It's one that you can honestly wait until Disney Plus to go see it, but if you want to go see it in theaters, by all means. As for my rating out of 10, 7 out of 10, 4 out of 5. Like it's good, but that third act physically knocked a full star off my rating.
Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you. I think that we had great acting. And that's the one thing you cannot take away from this film.
No.
Florence Pugh is phenomenal. Sebastian Stan is okay.
The story is, up until that third act, is tremendous.
Yeah. His storyline I thought was kind of cliche, though.
Sure.
Like very, very cliche.
Sure.
It was nothing against his acting. His action sequences just elevated him in that mix.
Sure.
Wyatt Russell, I think, was a star of this in the sense that he really won people over compared to where things left off with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Sure.
And then Lewis Pullman debuting as the Sentry, he was good for what he needed to do and establish the multi-layers of this character. However, the big things that I thought they did wrong with this is the third act. You completely switch everything, hoping fans will just buy into what the Void is. And that's a tough sell because things go really from MCU to Hawkins, Indiana in a drop of a dime.
Yeah.
You start traveling through somebody's mind and the weird things that happen there. And I know that's the easiest comparison I can do with dealing with the Upside Down in this place. Granted, the monsters are in his mind in comparison to the actual Upside Down. But either way, you wind up trying to build up this emotional connection, and it's just taken away with the power of friendship. And it's friends that are made on the fly. This is not like lifelong friends and in that variation. So it does hurt, and especially they speed through the end where you have Julia Louis-Dreyfus do an amazing job as Valentina, but it's just tied up so quickly that you're like, I just sat through this emotional roller coaster for what? For them to have a feel-good moment and think they're Avengers, but don't get a payoff. And then when you start breaking down what's happened in 14 months, there's pieces missing.
And in those 14 months, all we've seen as the viewers are all of these pieces from newspapers and magazines of not our Avengers. Do we really need them? Who are these people to call it? Like, it's all hit pieces.
Yeah, it's all tabloid stuff.
Yeah.
Which I'm just like, I think that's a bad sell. Because if you're really telling me that these were your quote-unquote Avengers, what have they done? I
would have bought it if it was all stuff from the Bugle. Or whatever J. Jonah Jameson is running these days.
Oh, yeah.
If it would have been just, however long that whole sequence is, 2-3 minutes. If it would have just been like 2-3 minutes of J. Jonah Jameson ranting and raving on them, okay.
It would have made sense.
Would have bought in, would have been a fun little Easter egg, would have made sense, and I'd been like, okay, this makes sense.
Right. Couldn't happen because of the studios, but you could dance around it. Like, you could find a way to get around it.
Right, but what we saw in the film wasn't necessarily JoeSchmo.com. It was Time Magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Variety. It was like actual publications that we've heard of.
Well, they try giving a sense of realism to it,
sure.
which, listen, you can try doing, but what they should have done is they should have had this team show up, not get the job done. Valentina have plan B, because essentially she was playing the Norman Osborn role of Dark Avengers in this.
Yep.
And it did not come off that way, because all of a sudden you flip it, you now make them Avengers, where had she gone and said, you know what, we do need heroes, here are my heroes, and had the original Thunderbolts lineup come in, and have Mel do the reveal that she's Songbird, have Baron Zemo back as Citizen V and you don't know, and just tease it, because that way you could have this group still kind of be lost in the shuffle, but you can have them try taking the mantle back from them and do something more with it. It just felt very flat and very forced. And all of a sudden, hey, we're the new Avengers. Hey,
yeah,
we're here. We're avenging something.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, it's strong acting, but I do agree with you. I took an entire 1.5 off my score that I was going in with it third act. I gave it a 7.8. I'm going to stick with that.
Sure.
I think the acting of characters I don't like, they really were selling me on why I should care about them.
Mm-hmm.
Did they win me over and am I fans now? No, but I think the acting in this is so strong, it definitely makes up for a lot of writing flaws.
Sure.
And to see now where we go in Fantastic Four, because that's the last stop technically till Doomsday.
In the film side of things.
In the film side of things.
Yes.
I know Ironheart and Wonder Man are still coming out live
the
action.
wonderful promotion they're getting for Ironheart.
Well, that's a whole different topic for another time, my friend. But in the meantime, Thunderbolts came, Thunderbolts went. What do you think about it? We gave you our grades. Now we want to hear yours. Hit us up on the hashtag ODPH pod. Let us know. We're going to get a break. We're going to be right back.
You ever wondered what comics Mark from Vale is into? What Zach from Left Behind's favorite MCU movies are? Well, Metalcore Nerds is the show for you. My name is Sean Mott, and here at Metalcore Nerds, we cover the latest things in pop culture, whether it be Star Wars, Marvel, DC, AEW, and everything else in between. You can listen to the show every Monday on Adobe Howl at 7 p.m. Eastern, or find it anywhere you find podcasts after it debuts on the radio station.
The content you are listening to is part of the Nerd Initiative Podcast Network. For more info about the home of pop culture positivity, be sure to check out nerdinitiative.com.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. And now we got to flip it to the sports side of things. We could deep dive into the NBA playoffs right now, but let's face it, I would be kicked off the airwaves right now after the Knicks came from behind in one of the most dramatic comebacks of NBA history.
So if I can borrow the phrase from Stephen A., orange and blue skies. Orange and blue skies.
Orange and blue skies forever, because they came back and stole game one from Boston in overtime. And the rest of the playoffs have been really up in the air right now. One game down, so there really isn't a lot to dive into there.
Yep.
The Rangers have their new head coach in Mike Sullivan.
Yep.
So that's pretty much all we need to focus on in that aspect right now, because the NFL is still making some moves. But it is a big wrestling weekend taking place.
Yeah.
And we have to break down the card that is going to be taking place on Saturday, Pad.
Saturday, May 10th, from the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, Missouri. It is Backlash.
Let's talk about the WWE's return to PLE since WrestleMania.
First one since WrestleMania. Got a couple of matches on this card, 5 of which so far. And that's kind of what they've been running with, so I don't expect anything else to be added. But we're going to break down the card, give our thoughts and predictions for who we think is going to win. So first up on the card is a singles match for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. It is Dominic Mysterio defending his belt against the smooth operator that is Penta.
This is going to be a great match. Dominic Mysterio getting the belt at Mania was a true upset and one well-deserving. Most improved wrestler, I would say, within the past few years. His character is on point.
Yes.
And the fact that they're going to let him run with the title is going to be great. This one, though, I think is going to be almost in a sense of, easy to figure out.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be Finn Balor messing with him and costing him the belt.
Okay.
Inadvertently, he's going to do something with it. So I fully feel that this is going to be and still.
Right.
I don't think Penta's going to win, but I think it's going to be like an inadvertently that we have something happen here.
Yeah.
Thus doing the Finn breakaway from Judgment Day. But Dom still retains. I don't think it's a one-and-done run for him.
I'll say we should note, Finn Balor, Monday Night Raw this week, was seen talking backstage to a certain tiny chief, as she's known on the internet, one Roxanne Perez, backstage during one of the latter segments of the show.
You know, if they want to run a faction like that, because obviously we know that Liv Morgan has some other plans going on right now, putting Roxanne in that mix would not be the worst idea.
No. But no, I think Finn's going to ultimately get involved in this in some capacity, just because we've been kind of kicking the tires and feeling the temp in the room on where the Judgment Day currently stands. And there's been friction. There's been pushback between Finn Balor and the rest of the group. You know, he doesn't want new members. You know, Dominic is more pro new members. And it's been kind of this like, will they, won't they? You know, for me, it's kind of starting to get to the point of shit or get off the pot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think they might finally, mercifully, be there because it's getting kind of stale for me anyway. Where like I'm invested. I don't turn away when they come on the screen, but I'm starting to lose interest, and I feel like you need to change up something and get something better because stat quo ain't gonna be it for me.
Yeah, they definitely have to do something with it. So I think in this variation, they're gonna finally get there, and I think this is gonna be the catalyst to get over there.
I agree. Next up is going to be probably match of the weekend. Oh, baby. All gas, no brakes. Fatal four-way match for the WWE United States Championship with Jacob Fatu defending his belt against L.A. Knight,
Yeah.
Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre. Lord have mercy, strap in, folks.
This is going to be an amazing match.
It's going to be a car crash.
First and foremost, I love you, Jacob. Jacob Fatu does no wrong in my eyes with what he's been doing in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be a hell of a match, and one that I think is really going to put him on a great trajectory. Because him with a singles title, now doing the slow break away from Solo, what's going on there, I think they're going to be doing some really, really cool things with him going into SummerSlam. But this one is going to be a train wreck of all the right reasons. I think you're going to have a lot of near finishes, and I do agree with you. I think this is probably the best match on the card.
Let's say, how many people can Drew McIntyre Claymore in a row? I want to see it.
Oh, he's going to find a way to do it. But this is one that I think is really going to stand out and really make some noise. I'm excited to see it.
I don't doubt this opens the card.
It could.
Just to really get people going.
It definitely could. So I'm excited to see what they wind up doing. But this one, I'm going to say Jacob wins.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. There's just too many other elements involved for it to be otherwise.
Oh, completely.
Next up is going to be, well, it's going to be a match. It's a singles matchup between Pat McAfee and Gunther.
Well, they've been teasing this for a little bit. Obviously, with one Gunther losing the belt to Jey Uso. He's been a little lost in the shuffle, if you will. And I think for him, this is not a bad thing. This is kind of a little blip in the radar for him to decide like what he wants to do after Mania is done, or after like the way to SummerSlam, I should say.
Right.
So him being involved with Pat McAfee, obviously he took him out on Monday Night Raw.
Right.
They've been doing a decent setup. This is going to be a throwaway match, but this is not a bad match, though.
Right. No, it'll be a good match. In theory, it should be a squash fest because, hey, it's Gunther who, you know, has been a title holder for, what do they say, like 80% of his time on the main roster?
Yeah.
Something insane like that. So there's no earthly way that Pat should beat him. But I think it'll be decent. You know, it's not going to be the worst match of the weekend. It's not going to be the best, but it'll be a match. You know, for those who are online who are thinking, oh, they're going to do this just to write Pat McAfee off so we can go do college football. I hate to break it to you folks, but the college football season doesn't start until the end of August.
Yeah.
We're in the beginning of May, and I don't think College Game Day even does anything until, like the first or second week of September?
Give or
take, depending on because I know last year they did the thing over in Ireland, so they went to Ireland, but so if anybody thinking, oh, they're just going to write him off so we can go do College Game Day. No, that's not what this is. What the outcome of this is and what the next step of this is, I have no idea, but we'll see.
I'm all here for it, though. But yeah, this is going to be Gunther all day.
Yeah, agreed. Next up is a singles match for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship with Lyra Valkyria defending her belt against the man, Becky Lynch.
Well, this one has been a nice little return for Becky Lynch. We knew she was coming back.
Yep.
They did the tease at Mania, worked wonders. But in this situation, Lyra needed to do something. And I think her character has been a little more hurt from that than we realized, not having really won over the fans. Like
right.
She's
starting to.
Yeah, she's starting to, but I think maybe it's a little in the situation. Her being champion is not getting anywhere. I think her chasing the belt would only help right now.
Sure.
Plus, if you're going to have Becky Lynch come back, I think it makes a ton of sense for her to really be involved in a picture here. Plus, you can also set up something which I don't think has officially happened per se, and that's her versus Bayley for a belt.
Oh.
and or like a really long feud.
Sure.
Like I don't think they've ever done one since Becky has been the man.
Sure.
And Bayley has been the role model. So I think when you start adding all that into perspective.
Well, and plus the other thing too is I don't think we ever got official, and I'm using air quotes for that, confirmation who took Bayley out.
Yeah.
It was insinuated that it was Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan.
Right.
But they were also it was also insinuated they were the ones who took out Jade Cargill, and well, that turned out to not be the case.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to wait to see how this all kind of shapes up a little bit, but I'm excited to see it. And then, where do we go from here? Like, I think that's the ultimate play. But
yeah.
I think at the end of the day, getting back on track, it's Becky Lynch all day.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, listen, Lyra's starting to get over with the main roster crowd. You're starting to hear more when she comes out. They want her to do the woo, things. Not the Ric Flair, not the Charlotte Flair woo, but just the her little thing with her entrance. They're starting to do it more. It's more than just crickets now. The crowd's starting to get behind it, so I think it's working. But I agree. I think to kind of fully get there, you need to have her go back into the chase.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, I think it's not to say she's lost in the shuffle because I truly don't think she is. I know we had a bunch of releases this past week.
Yep.
I don't think Lyra's in any danger of that per se, but I think it's just her character needs to be chasing to really win over the fans.
And I think part of it is just she's starting to come out of her shell just because you look at when she first came on the main roster, she seemed kind of shy, kind of nervous, and now she's starting to come out of that shell. And I think it's working well for her character and for her as a wrestler.
Absolutely.
Next up is the main event of the evening, and this is a singles match for the undisputed WWE Championship. And boy, if this one ain't a classic. One John Cena is defending his belt against one Randall Keith Orton in his hometown of St. Louis for the 108th time.
You know what? I don't care.
No, I don't either. It's probably the last time we'll see this.
It's the last time we're going to see this. I'm all in about this. I cannot wait to see this match. Just because you have two icons.
Legends.
Going at it, and the stuff, I mean, they used to be the original Fight Forever. So this is right up the alley. They're going to put on a hell of a performance.
Yeah.
I fully think Cena retains.
Oh, absolutely. Cena's retaining until the end of the year.
I'm
going to say that right now.
Oh, yeah, I think he should. I would not take the belt off him one bit.
Because there is, and here's the reason I say this, Cena's going to retain through the year, and somebody's going to take the belt off of him at the last Saturday night's main event of the year, because there is word, it hasn't been officially announced, but the early rumors it's going to be in Boston.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that he's going to do it, and I think that he's going to put over somebody worthy of it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's going to be the thing. Like, who does he feel that he's passing the torch to?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't really give you a clear-cut picture.
No, I can't either.
I mean, I would say Braun Breaker. I mean, I still
had he not entered the little thing with Seth and Paul Heyman,
yeah.
I would say yeah. By the way, Braun, lay off the bronzer.
I'm not telling him to do anything. He is
him and Paul Heyman. I'll say it.
Yeah,
you both look like you fell asleep in the tanning booth.
Oh, they did. Like, listen, I'll say that to Paul all day. I'm not going to say that to Braun.
I'll say it.
Braun's going to catch you with one of those spear tackles.
Go ahead.
He's famous last words, folks. But no, this match, though, is going to be a classic.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm excited to see it. I mean, like I say, top to bottom, 5 matches.
Yeah, it's about what they run.
It's what to be expected. It's not going to go on for 7 hours.
Thank God.
And like I say, it's really going to have some fun moments. I really think. And I would say, I wouldn't expect any belt changes. But I do think that we could see maybe a debut from somebody, or if we really want to see the Seth Rollins faction get involved. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how they're going to do it, but we can wait to see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But overall, I mean, that's been kind of the big headline from wrestling going on this week. I know there is a lot of releases going on.
Yeah.
Any quick thoughts on that, Pat, before we end the segment?
None super surprising. I mean, the ones in the main roster, didn't really surprise me. The one, just because they were there, but they weren't really featured heavily, and the ones on NXT, didn't really surprise me. Didn't really surprise me either, just for the same reason. They were there, but they never really seemed to be, in that role where like they're featured weekly and they're on TV every week and they seem to be going places. It's like they were there, they were kind of keeping the stat quo, and that's where they were going to be.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like, nothing really shocked me in that. And there's one thing, too, that WWE has so many talented superstars in NXT, Evolve. it's tough to really make yourself stand out. So,
Yeah.
I mean, as weird as this is going to sound, they have the elite roster, and you have to be elite to really get up there and stay there.
Well, and now you factor in they've got AAA, and
Yeah.
so they've got a third. Well, no, sorry, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Evolve, LFG. They've got a sixth brand. Effectively.
Well, LFG is going to be wrapping up, though.
Sure, but
I would not count that, because whoever wins that's going to NXT.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But
that's the whole thing.
So you've got like 5 different things you can pull from for roster space and for, a match on the main roster or NXT. So like you really got to be able to, cut some teeth and show out and impress people.
Yeah, completely. So that's the problem they have. So wishing everybody good luck on their future endeavors.
Yeah.
And to hear more about that, obviously, Sammy and Rich are going to be talking about it on Wrestling Night Live this week, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Nerd Initiative YouTube. In the meantime, though, hit us up on that hashtag ODPH Pod. WWE Backlash is taking place Saturday. Who's your predictions of walking away with some wins? We want to know about it. So hit us up. Let us know. We're going to get our final breakout. We'll be right back.
This is Tom from Tom Joe Lou,
This is Matt from Sideroom Sounds.
and you're listening to ODPH Podcast.
Wanna go where no one knows my name, to the desert, the oceans, or the plains. 'Cause I wanna...
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH Podcast. Pad, what you got?
Got a couple things to talk about, first of which is a little bit of the local minute, because we do got to give a shout out to the Binghamton Black Bears, currently in the midst of the final round of the Federal Prospects Hockey League playoffs, going up against the Carolina Thunderbirds. And after this past weekend, they were on the road for both of those 2 games. Friday, May 2nd, won that game 4-1. Came back Saturday, May 3rd. Won that game 1-0. So that means their next game, because this is the best of 5, if I'm not mistaken. 1, 2, 3. Yep, best of 5. Friday, May 9th, 7 o'clock Eastern, potential series clinching game. Don't bother trying to get any tickets unless you know somebody, because word is locally the game is sold out. So you'll have to check out the radio broadcast, or potentially, hey, if you know somebody, you might know somebody who has tickets. But for more tickets information, all that good stuff, BinghamtonBlackBears.com. Should also mention the Binghamton Rumble Ponies are home this weekend, so BingRP.com for tickets information, all that good stuff from those fine folks.
Yes.
Then we're going to talk a little bit of entertainment news, because there was some pretty major video game news. One not so surprising, one very surprising. We'll go to the not so surprising one first, and that was Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed again to May 26th, 2026. Reading from the official release on rockstargames.com. This came out back on May 2nd, and it says, "Hi everyone. Grand Theft Auto 6 is now set to release on May 26th, 2026. We are very sorry that this is later than you expected. The interest and excitement surrounding a new Grand Theft Auto has been truly humbling for our entire team. We want to thank you for your support and your patience as we work to finish the game. With every game we've released, the goal has always been to try and exceed your expectations, and Grand Theft Auto 6 is no exception. We hope you understand that we need this extra time to deliver at the level of quality you expect and deserve. We look forward to sharing more information with you soon. Sincerely, Rockstar Games," close quote. And, well, they did share more information, because we did get a trailer released yesterday as we record. And I gotta say, trailer looks good.
Trailer looked good.
Trailer looked good. I'm excited to play it. Listen, I am of the opinion, especially after certain games have come out, Cyberpunk 2077, give these companies all of the time they need so that when they release, they're fully complete games that work and not broken, bug-filled messes that are an absolute shit show. Let's not forget when Grand Theft Auto 5 first released on the PS3 and Xbox 360, that they did the story first. They did the online, I believe it was like a month later. There was a bug with online. It was not recommended that you would store your personal vehicle in your apartment, because there was a chance it would be deleted. And the money you had earned through, because I don't think you could purchase the in-game currency yet through the stores. I think you could only just earn it through doing jobs and games and missions and stuff. So all of that hard-earned money you earned was blown to the wind because of bugs. So let them work it out. Let them finish it. It'll be fine. The other one that was announced that came as a total surprise was that Gears of War Reloaded was announced this past week, and it is a remaster of the original 2006 game, and it's going to release on August 26th on Xbox, PC, and PlayStation. So reading from the article on IGN.com, the article does read in part, quote, the shiny new version will come with improved visuals and audio, cross-play, and cross-progression, and all of the DLC from Gears of War Ultimate Edition. Quote, as we approach the 20th anniversary of Gears of War in 2026, we're reflecting on what this franchise means. It's about the stories we've told, the friendships we've built, and the unforgettable moments we've shared together. With Gears of War Reloaded, we're opening that door to more players than ever, said Mike Crump, studio head at the Coalition, in the announcement post. So the article on IGN goes on to say, not only do PlayStation owners get to play, the love can be shared across the console barricades. Quote, Gears of War Reloaded is built for shared play. Whether you're teaming up in split screen or jumping online, the campaign supports 2-player co-op, and versus multiplayer allows up to 8 players with cross-play across all platforms. You and your friends can squad up no matter where you play. No Microsoft account required, confirmed Crump. Article does say, however, signing in with a Microsoft account unlocks full cross-platform functionality. It enables cross-progression so your campaign and multiplayer progress carries across devices. It also allows you to send invites and play with friends across platforms like Xbox to PlayStation or Steam to Xbox. And then there's a whole bunch of lists of what the console can expect: 4K, 60 frames per second, 120 in multiplayer, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, one of the big pillars of the Xbox franchise brand is coming over to PlayStation for the first time ever.
I think they should make a trade for Spider-Man.
Maybe.
Just putting it out there.
We'll see. You can play Spider-Man on PC.
Yes.
Just saying.
All right, so before we get into comic news, to wrap things up, there was a press release tying into our first segment that just came out.
Okay.
So we had mentioned a couple weeks ago that there was a new Thunderbolts series coming out from Sam Humphries and Tone Lima from Marvel and coming in June. Well, shocker to no one, I guess we should say, because it was new Thunderbolts Asterix. It has now been officially confirmed that this team that is going to be comprised of Bucky Barnes, Black Widow, Eddie Brock Carnage.
Oh, shit.
Namor, Hulk, Clea, and Laura Kinney Wolverine is going to be the new Avengers.
I'd hate to be on the receiving end of that ass kicking.
Well, it's a really cool concept. Like, I like how they have this set up for it. Quoting the press release from our fine folks at Marvel, the Winter Soldier, Black Widow, Eddie Brock, Carnage, Hulk, Namor, Clea, and Wolverine is a group of most dangerous loners and anti-heroes in the Marvel Universe, yet they come together as the new Avengers. In classic Avengers fashion, they'll take on the threat too big for any one hero to combat: corrupt clones of the Illuminati. So, which Humphries even said he's elated to talk about the change. Quote, plot choice has been New Avengers all along. I promise surprises, the first of many. It's a thrill and honor to continue the grand New Avengers tradition of team dynamics that are explosive as the threats. In this era, there's 2 combustible teams, the New Avengers and the Killuminati. End quote. So this is the various covers, Pat, I'm showing you live. So this is the main one.
Nice.
From Stefan Segovia, who's on Secret 6 for DC Comics.
Yeah.
And one of my personal favorite ones, this is Will Porticio. This is an homage to that classic one from New Avengers.
I do like that.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
So they got some very cool ones coming out. So this will be out June 11th at the comic shop. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But surprised no one that this was going to be going to that, because obviously with the big reveal, I had a feeling this was going to happen, and sure enough, they did not let me down. So that being said, we are here talking some comics. So Pat, what you picking up this week?
Picking up one thing at the comic shop this week, and we've heard Greg Weisman say a couple times that the first issue of Gargoyles is still the highest selling issue in Dynamite Comics history. This one might break it.
Yeah, I agree.
This has got a real chance. That is Captain Planet issue number 1 from David Pepos and the fine folks over at Dynamite Comics. This one reads, quote, Earth's ultimate protector returns. 5 special young people have been empowered by Gaia, the embodiment of the Earth's spirit, with an aspect of our world's elemental forces: earth, fire, wind, water, and heart. When the 5 powers combine, they summon the world's greatest champion, Captain Planet. But before these would-be eco-warriors can combine their newfound abilities in pursuit of environmental justice, they will have to learn to trust each other and with each member drawn from different and sometimes mutually antagonistic corners of the globe, that's easier said than done. Unfortunately, their time is not on their side. When Gaia is kidnapped, the inexperienced Planeteers are forced to come together, whether they're ready or not, to face the well-financed might of Lucian plunder. Even with the fivefold power of Captain Planet on their side, will it be enough to stop the ruthless ingenuity of Earth's exploiters? Find out in the all-new Captain Planet #1 from red-hot writer David Pepos, Space Ghost, and acclaimed artist Iman Casalos, Vampirella, featuring sustainable covers from Mark Spears, Ben Oliver, Christian Ward, and a special connecting series of covers for the first 6 issues from Jai Lee and Jun Chung. So this is a series that I grew up on as a kid watching on Cartoon Network. Loved the hell out of it. Was bummed when they stopped making new episodes. Got excited years later when on Boomerang, which is the throwback channel Cartoon Network did, they would do literally an all-day marathon of this on Earth Day. Fantastic show. Got the incredible LeVar Burton as one of the cast members on this show. You've also got Tim Curry's on as Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, you run through the list of some of the folks who have been on this show.
Yeah.
Like voice actor wise, it would kind of blow your mind. So I mentioned LeVar Burton. Whoopi Goldberg was also on the show. Frank Weller was on there. Tim Curry. Maurice LaMarche was on there as well. Meg Ryan was on the show. Martin Sheen. Charlie Adler, who some of you know. Jim Cummings. Jeff Goldblum was on there as well. Sting. And no, I'm not talking the wrestler.
Woo!
Nope, not that Sting. Sting, the artist, was on there as well. David Aykroyd was on there for a couple episodes. Fred Savage, just to name a few. Neil Patrick Harris made an appearance. Vanna White, yes, Vanna White of all people was on an episode of this. You just run through the IMDb cast list of who was on the show. It's absolutely insane the amount of star power they were able to pull on the show. So the fact that it got revived, the fact that it's back in some form, and it's not the hilarious April Fool's Day trailer they did years ago. I'm thrilled to see this back, and I'm excited to read this.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about this, we had David Pepos on Turn a Page. You can hear the podcast version of that here on the ODPH network. And this was his dream project.
Nice.
That he's always wanted to do. He's very passionate about it. And thinking about when that cartoon came out, if memory serves me right, that was right when the TBS Superstation was kicking off.
Yes, I believe so.
So I know they were going all out. Like, they really made a point to get a lot of those voice actors in for this because they really had that much faith behind the cartoon and what it meant, because they were really diving into more of the environmental topics that really were not touched upon at said time.
Show ran for 6 seasons and ran from 1990 through 1996.
Yeah, so I was going to say it was a long-running cartoon, but I just remember that's so synonymous with the TBS Superstation and what they were trying to do at Turner, and that's why you have a lot of those voice actors. And still, the fact that it holds up, and with David Pepos writing, there's no question it's a hit.
I don't believe it's streaming anyplace. I could be wrong, but I do know you can purchase the episodes on...
I wonder if it's on Max.
No, it's not.
Really?
No, it's not. Believe me, I would be watching it. I wouldn't have had to buy for the season if it was. No, it was on Boomerang for the longest time, but they took it off of the Boomerang app when some of that started getting folded into Max, but it didn't. That wasn't one of the ones that came over. So it might still be on the Boomerang one. I could be wrong, but you can purchase the seasons. I know it's on Apple TV, Amazon, wherever you buy your television shows, and the seasons usually run for like $25, which isn't bad for a full season, considering some of them are like 50.
Yeah.
For the other recommendations I have, these are the 2 I reviewed over at Nerd Initiative this week, and the first of which is Star Wars Hyperspace Stories: The Bad Batch.
Yes.
Issue number 3 from Michael Morrissey. This one reads: after a daring operation on the planet Kessel, the Bad Batch have caught up with the masked thief who stole the vital intel from Coruscant. But be careful what you wish for, clones, because this burglar is no ordinary crook. They are a dark side force user who wields a lightsaber with deadly precision. Can the Bad Batch get close enough to unveil their mysterious foe and retrieve the intel? So if you've been reading this story, kind of obvious who it is. So you do get revealed who that is. There's also a fun cameo in this beginning part of this issue, which to this point had not seen or heard from this person. The only thing we knew of or had heard of this person was mentioned in the Solo film from, I believe it was 2018. She's alluded to in that movie, but up until this point, Hadn't heard what's going on with her. We do see her, so we do know things are going on. But it's a great issue. Highly recommended. If you were a fan of The Bad Batch, you will absolutely love that issue.
Yes.
Then you've got Star Wars issue number 1 from Alex Segura and the incredible Phil Noto on the artwork. This one reads, an epic new adventure begins for Luke, Leia, and Han in the wake of Return of the Jedi. New York Times bestselling author Alex Segura launches the bold next era of Star Wars. Luke Skywalker must defend the New Republic from a bloodthirsty gang of mercenaries. Han Solo investigates a deadly underworld mystery and saves a surprising ally. Leia Organa must grapple with a new alliance opposed to the goals of the New Republic. Close quote. So this issue number 1, do you know who Han, Luke, and Leia are? Do you know what happens at the end of Return of the Jedi? That's all you need to know. You don't need to have read anything prior. You don't need to go into this with a whole bunch of knowledge of the books and the comics and the audio dramas and the TV shows and whatever. As long as you know who those 3 characters are and what happened at the end of Return of the Jedi, you're good.
It's a good starting on point.
Yeah, it's a great launching on point.
Definitely have to check that one out. For me, it's always a crazy week.
Uh-huh.
It's what I do here. As the EIC of Nerd Initiative, it kind of goes into that way. But, man, such a great lineup of books this week. Pad's got some great ones. Definitely checking those out. And also from my list, Free Planet number 1, Image Comics. Aubrey Sitterson, Jed Daughtry. And this book is just an experience.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the story of the first ever completely free planet. So the people of Lutheria now have got their independence, and what do you do with it? And this is to say it's a multi-layered attack is an understatement.
Right.
It dives into social themes, political themes, sci-fi. A great cast. It's so detailed for world building. It will rock you a little bit. I'm just saying, like, it's going to hit you with so many different takes. You're going to have to reread it a few times, but trust me, you're not going to be mad about it. It's a hell of an issue. Really recommend this, and I love to see where this is going. We had Aubrey Sitterson on Turn a Page as well, and I'm super happy for the success of this book because I'm already hearing it's sold out. So,
oh, wow.
And rightfully so. The book is that good, so if you can find a copy, go get one. Over on the DC Comics side of things is Absolute Superman number 7, and Pat, I'm just showing you the cover.
What the hell?
We now get to meet Absolute Brainiac.
Oh, hell.
So
that can't be good.
It's definitely not.
It can't be good for our heroes.
No, definitely not. So Jason Aaron and Carmine D. Giandomenico are the team on this one, and this is a Brainiac like we've never seen. They do a great job of showcasing what this version is about, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it's a hell of a read. DC Comics, yet again, the final issue of Black Canary, Best of the Best, number 6, Tom King, Ryan Sook, and Pad, you get a definitive winner. This does not go to the judges.
Oh, thank God.
This has been a wild story. I mean, this is Tom King at his finest. He dives into the emotional aspects of each character he takes as a lead. So this is dealing with Black Canary's struggle about trying to save her mom, who is dying, and gets a Faustian deal from one Vandal Savage.
Oh, boy.
And it all results in the showdown with Lady Shiva, the deadliest fighter in the MCU or DC Comics universe.
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
Hell of a series. Amazing finale. Really love this entire run. Sad to see it go. I would love to see Tom and Ryan team up yet again for Black Canary and make it a long-going series, but I understand all good things have to come to an end sometime. Definitely go get this. Don't wait for the trade paperback. It's a hell of a story. We mentioned this artist earlier as part of New Avengers doing the cover for it, but this is the book that they are drawing monthly, and that is Steven Segovia and teaming up with Nicole Maines for Secret 6, number 3. So this has been the hunt for Amanda Waller. There's a lot of interested parties trying to find her for various reasons. Dreamer, Gossamer, Superman, John Kent, Deadshot, Black Alice, and Catman. So now their search has led them into a certain DC nightclub. But it's not one that you know about because it deals with the covert group known as Checkmate.
Okay.
Things are going down. Like, this is dealing a lot with the Absolute Power Fallout, which I love that crossover, so I'm happy to see it's still affecting a few series. And Secret 6, that's what it's all based on. And I like how it's setting up. I'm very curious at the ending, though. The ending definitely had my attention. So I want to see where that kind of plays out. The penultimate issue of Justice League The Atom Project is out. Ryan Parrott, John Ridley, Mike Perkins. So this has been the story about how Ray Palmer and Ryan Choi have been trying to fix the actions of Amanda Waller and what they have done involving the powers getting swapped out from the heroes.
Mm-hmm.
This one is a big payoff issue. However, if you've been reading other DC titles, the only thing I'm going to really rip into this, I don't want to say rip in, that's not the right wording. The one thing I will kind of say about it is I already know who Inferno is because I've read other books.
Sure.
And knowing that information going into it, it does take away from the reveal.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of curious to see how they deal with this and balance out, because the Adams have their work cut out for them. I really want to see a big payoff at the end of this.
Right.
Because I know this ties into too many stories. Next up, DC Comics yet again. JSA number 7, Jeff Lemire. Rafael de la Torre is on the art, stepping in. We know Rafael from The Penguin.
Yes.
And this is dealing with the death of Ted Grant, which he was killed in their last fight with the Injustice Society last issue. Not really a spoiler because it did make the rounds, and plus it's on the cover as well. So
right.
This is kind of dealing with it. JSA is as classic of a superhero story as you're going to get. So I'm never mad about talking about it. It definitely is packing a wallop with what they're doing. So it's a definitely fun read as well. Image Comics, Skybound Entertainment, Blood and Thunder number 1. This is Benito Sereno, EJ Sue, and Robert Kirkman leading the way, a bounty hunter and a talking gun, and the insanity that comes with it. We were fortunate enough to have him on Turn a Page as well.
Nice. And
definitely dived into the book. The book lives up to the hype, folks. You need to go check it out. You can find that interview on the ODPH network and on Turn a Page on Nerd Initiative YouTube as well. Definitely go check it out and go get the book. This book is dope. Also, Skybound Entertainment and Image Comics. This is G.I. Joe, Real American Hero number 316, Larry Hama, Paul Petlier, and this is picking up right after the Silent Mission storyline is now wrapped up. It's a great starting point on. A lot of moving parts, and Pat, I'm just showing you the cover. You know enough about G.I. Joe?
Yeah.
What do you think?
That's nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
A lot of cool stuff happening there. Last but certainly not least, one close to Padawan Jay's heart as well as mine, Amazing Spider-Man number 3.
Oh, baby.
Joe Kelly, Pepe Larraz, and...
You sold me already.
The whole story here about Rhino having a heart attack during their last skirmish, and what it brings out has been vintage Spider-Man. Like I said in my review, Spider-Man is back, baby. And Joe Kelly has got that voice wrapped up, and what is happening now is bananas. And especially we see a return from the past, and we do see, well, a classic villain has made his appearance in the end of the book that we've been all waiting on, and how Spidey deals with this because he's been drugged out of his mind is anybody's guess. For more reviews, though, definitely make sure to hit up nerdinitiative.com. Check out the YouTube page as well. Over 40 reviews between page and website. You definitely want to get familiar with it and go get the best books of the week, because we're telling you what is the best of the week. Enough said. For anything that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. That's it for this week. So for the one and only Padawan J,
fuck the Astros.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast. We'll see you next time.